We were talking about that the other day as staff. The offers, like I would offer Jordan, and I've got to give you, y'all handle everything correct. And coach, it's down to 2 schools. And I'm going, all right, it's down to telling my staff. Sisters want to know. I think that's being truthful up. And, when I think the other part of it is, the negative part about it is when a kid commits to a school, doesn't call the other school. They want to text them now. And I think that's part of the process. That pick up the phone and say, hey, coach, I appreciate you recruiting me. I loved everything, but I'm going to go a different direction. We understand that instead of sending a text. I think that's some of the things that parents need to do with their daughters and sons and say, hey, call that coach. Because you never know when that coach leaves to be a head coach at a Power 4 or move down to a Division 2, Division 3.
What are some things that you're specifically looking for in terms of your ideal student athlete?
We have our list of students that we're recruiting, student athletes that we're recruiting. The one thing I'm looking at is how do they look on the pitch? Are they communicating with the coach? Are they communicating with their teammates? Are they helping their teammates up? And one thing, are they talking to the official? Are they acting out when the official made a bad call? Because that will carry over to college. And if they're doing that, then they're going to do it in college. And as coaches, we're not going to accept that. We're going to put you in your place, and we're going to let you know that's unacceptable because we have our standards that we go by as a team. And it's not just one person going to come in and break that. And we want the best from them. So I look at those things. We look at, can they hit a jump shot? Are they consistent? Are they talking on defense? Are they helping their teammates? Those little things are carry a long way. And those little things will separate you from another student athlete we're looking at. Coachable part is, I think, it's one of the biggest things. Are they coachable? Because yes, you may set a screen, you might think it's a screen, that official calls something wrong. How do you react to that? Are you same way as your head coach over there? Because I've seen some AAU coaches, they go off on official, and here comes the player going off. And I've seen some student athletes during the summer go over in a major tournament, run for the roses, something like that, that the student athlete is running over there. The recruit is telling the coach, hey, yeah, I did it. It's okay. So we look at those little things like that, which is so important because that carries on and off the court.
That's good stuff. Very good stuff. So, Coach, when you're doing that, do you pay any attention to the parents as well? What role do the parents play when you're scouting a student athlete? What are you looking at the parents as well and how they're acting or talking?
We're looking at the parents because we're considered as a family. It's a family packet. I can remember you laughing at this past time we went out. This dad was just yelling the whole time, telling his daughter to do this. Hey, shoot the ball, pass the ball, running up and down. And the coach couldn't even coach because the daughter kept looking, finally said, enough is enough. We don't want that because that's not what we want in our program. That's what most coaches, they don't want that. And we look at the parents, there's some parents, yeah, we understand once we get to know them, but you're not going to coach your daughter.
Right.
You can do it in the summer because of coaching a lot, but you're not going to do that when it happens. And when you get to college, there are no coaches that will allow that to happen. We're not going to allow a parent to get on official because that comes back and will haunt us down the road because you're going to see those officials all season long while you're at home. We're going to see that official on the road. So it's about respect. It's respect. And I've seen some coaches go to parents, hey, we can't have that. And it's an embarrassment to that student.
That's good to know. Good to know, Coach, especially for the parents that we're looking to capture with our particular audience. Let me ask you another question. What role does social media play in recruiting for you all, and how can student athletes use it effectively, if at all, if they need to be using it at all?
I think the Facebook, the Instagrams, the TikToks, and all that has helped recruiting. I think that they're getting, the clips they're playing in tournaments and stuff. A lot of coaches, a lot of student athletes are posting those. I think it's a positive. I think the negative part of it is it's where you go and hanging out with your friends and posting negative stuff about, it could be your coach, it could be about a teammate. Those are things that we don't like. I've seen student athletes lose scholarships, going to parties and where alcohol is there, and or having guns at a party, riding around. Those things that coaches, we don't want that in our program, and that's part of the administration. And there's our AD athletic director, SWAs. Some of them may be on following us. That means we're following you, and they see that they're going, "Hey, tell me about that student athlete." I've seen a lot of more people cleaning up. I think when TikTok took over and everybody was on it, because these actors and actresses and superstars were doing this. I can do that well. They're making millions, and you're trying to get a scholarship. And there's times we just go, "Hey, can you take that down? That's not you. That's not what we want to see right now."
So, Coach, I hear this a lot from parents when I go to AAU tournaments, and they say, "Well, my child scores, 20 points a game, and they're scoring all the points, but anytime my child makes a mistake, my child gets pulled off the floor, but when that person makes a mistake, the coach doesn't pull them off the floor." Can you help parents understand what coaches are thinking of when they're pulling a player off the floor after they make a mistake? Because we all see it happen, but then there are others that they leave on the floor. Explain to parents what coaches are looking for there to help them understand what's going on.
Well, I think it happens in college basketball on the men and women's side that you may make a mistake. We pull you out. It's not pulling you out because of that mistake. We're pulling you out to show you or tell you, "Hey, this happened." There may be an upperclassman that does the same mistake, and they know they've made that mistake, and the coaches give them a little more. I guess they made more mistakes and they've corrected themselves. I think when freshmen and sophomores make a mistake, parents see, "Oh yeah, you pull them out," or in AAU basketball, it's something new. A coach has a game plan, and it's also the flow of the game. I've seen a kid miss three threes in a row, and coach pulls him and explains to, "Hey, you got to hit that shot." And then that kid comes right back into the next game, and guess what? She hits three in a row. So I think parents also need to have a talk with the AAU coach, and it's about relationships. It's about relationship. And I think the AAU, on the AAU part of it, that the coach needs to talk to the student and the parents and say, "Hey, this is what happened during the game." I see a lot of time at the end of the games, they get together and they sit in a circle and they talk about it. I think that's so important in AAU basketball because that's the opportunity for the coach to explain what's going on, but also the feedback from them. We do ours after the game, or the next day. It's about film session. We do a lot of film session, and we break it down to show them the mistakes. You don't have the opportunity too often in the summertime with AAU basketball. There are I think, very few that may break down our tape or something, but we break down a tape and show everybody the mistakes they make, and then we go back on the court and correct them.
That's good. That's good information. So, Coach, how important is the academic performance in the recruiting process? I know I talk to a lot of parents, and they're so focused on the athletic side, but should they be concerned about the academic side as well?
No doubt. The number one thing is academics. You cannot get in school with D's and F's. You've got to have a standard, and what we have is the NCAA has a guide how many English you need to take, and there's a formula to it. Each school is different to be admitted, but if you go, like I said, that's part of the relationship with that guidance counselor. It's go and make sure if you're a student athlete, you got to go through the NCAA clearinghouse. You have to have your PIN, your number, and all that, making sure you're on track. So it's so important. A lot of schools are doing the dual that they can take college credits, and that helps them there. So that puts them either further ahead once they're, the freshmen may come in with 22 hours more. But I think that's so important that we have to. And a lot of high school coaches have done a great job. And I've seen some AAU coaches have it too. If you're not doing good in your school, you're not playing for me.
Sitting down.
Or you may play, but guess what? You may have to be in summer school or take some courses or something. I've seen that happen. So I think it's so important that on both ends, the parent and the student athlete, because once we get those transcripts, they will be evaluated by our academic people, and they will come to us saying, "Hey, this student athlete is going to be successful here or not be successful here. This is what they're missing. They may be missing a foreign language, before their senior year." And it's no more taking it in summertime. Like, the old days, you could take one course in the summer. I don't think you can do that anymore now.
You know, Coach, I will tell you, I am so blessed that my wife she was almost obsessed with making sure Jordan had every class, every hour. I mean, it was a blessing to me because I didn't have to worry about it. But my wife was on top of that to the point where even at Georgia Southern, we were able to finish because she took some summer courses. Jordan finished a half semester early. You know, it was amazing to me that my wife could keep up with that. And it's extremely important for parents to keep up with where their child is on the academic side and the hours because, you know, they're in college and then they start doing all this transferring. You know, you have to be sure what will transfer and what won't transfer. And you could get caught in that conundrum and you know, cost yourself some time in the area or in the school. It costs you more time to stay in school. Let me ask you this: what advice would you give to parents whose child is receiving interest from colleges or maybe multiple schools? What's the best way for them to navigate that process? What should be their thought process during that time period?
I think the biggest thing is get to know the schools. Go visit schools. I think that's the number one thing is if they go visit schools, say they have 5 schools or 6 schools that they want to say your daughter's interested in or your son interested, go see those schools, go to their practices. Most coaches allow them to come see what practice looks like. There's times that we have underclassmen day, and we do that a lot to get underclassmen to see how we function. Most people think we just roll out the basketball. You know, it's more than that. Like I said, if you want to go to 5 different schools for unofficial, go for it. And sometimes you may see 2 teams that you're interested in playing against each other. So I think that's the time to do it. But I always tell people, come see us, come sit down, talk with us, you know, during practice, and we'll talk to you after practice. Get to see how we function on and off the court, but also see the reaction of our student athletes because that's something they can always talk to student athletes after practice or before practice. And that's something we always do. We like for you to meet our strength conditioning coaches, but go take unofficial visits, not just during football season, but during basketball season, that you can go watch them practice and watch them play a game. And we're allowed to give you tickets to that. Right now, they have unlimited official visits.
Exactly. Unofficial visits.
Yes.
That's
And
good.
official.
Really?
Yes, those rules have changed.
So it's unlimited official visits as well.
Yes, that rule has changed.
How often are official visits offered?
I would say if you're in the top 6, you're offered a official visit. And then Power Fours may have, you know, top 20, top 30 kids there that they're recruiting. Just like we have a list, and we're going through it just like you're going through it. She fits our program. She doesn't fit our program. We're not in her top 5, so we got to go with our number 1, number 2, number 3 for that official visit. So, but there's unlimited that they can go through, and most of the time, a lot of the student athletes don't want to do 8 visits. The parents are tired of it after number 3 or 4.
Good point. What are some common mistakes that student athletes make during the recruiting process that could hurt their chances of landing a scholarship?
I think not being truthful about just the things they want, what they're looking at. They may say, "Yeah, you're my number 1," but they've told 4 other schools, "You're my number 1 too," which is
Right. I've
funny because
heard that.
we
Yeah.
all, as coaches, we talk,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and we're like,
They don't realize you talk. They don't realize you
"Well,
guys talk to each other.
yeah, you know, we all talk. We're recruiting the same. Hey, tell me what you think of this one, and tell me what you not think of that." So we do talk. I think the one thing is just be truthful, because you know I'm looking for a bigger school or I'm looking for a bigger deal. It's about money now.
Wow.
I think that's something, and then we can go to our next person. Wasting time is our time is so important that it's very valuable now since this transfer portal is happening now. So we just don't want to stick on one kid and then we're telling number 2 to wait or number 3 to wait. And guess what? We don't lost that student athlete. Be truthful. Be truthful in the process.
That's a good point. And I think that parents and the students need to understand that this is a business as well. Yes, we want you to go to college and earn your degree and be happy playing sports, whatever that sport may be. But understand that this is a business, and it's getting becoming more and more on the business side every single day. And parents need to understand that you don't have time to waste. If you get an offer, I'm seeing now today, coach, you get an offer, you may be it may be you're in your best interest to go ahead and take that offer once it hits the table.
Uh, we were talking about that the other day at staff. The offers, like I would offer Jordan, and I've got to give you, y'all handle everything correct. Hey, coach, it's down to two schools. And I'm going, all right, it's down to telling my staff. Well, assistants want to know. I think that's being truthful up. And, when I think the other part of it is the negative part about it is when a kid commits to a school, it doesn't call the other school. They want to text them now. I think that's part of the process that pick up the phone and say, hey, coach, I appreciate you recruiting me. I loved everything, but I'm going to go a different direction. We understand that instead of sending a text. I think that's some of the things that parents need to do with their daughters and sons and say, hey, call that coach. Because you never know when that coach leaves to be a head coach at a Power Four or move down to a Division II, Division III, and they need a student athlete, they may be calling you or you may be looking, and still a good relationship because we all know that you never know when, hey, that coach becomes the athletic director at a school. And that head coach walks and says, hey, we're recruiting so and so. And you go, hey, I know that person. And kind of think of not the positive, but the negative parts of it, of recruiting. So I always tell them, hey, pick up the phone and just tell the coach, hey, I decided to go to a different school.
Right. It's about relationships, building those relationships. And this is a model that I've always lived by, even in corporate America for, being a banker for over 35 years. Don't burn bridges.
Ever.
I've learned that. Do not burn bridges because you never know when you'll have to cross that bridge again. I've always left companies and relationships. I've always tried to leave them better than when I found them, but also leave on a peaceful note so that if I run across that particular individual again, we won't look at each other cross. And this is a business. When you talk about college sports, it is somewhat of a business. And yeah, the goal is for the child to get the degree, absolutely, but understand that there's a business element to this as well, and they have to operate on that level. And I'll tell you, coach, some parents just don't get that. They do not understand. They think it's just about going out, scoring the points, looking like Asia Wilson and trying to look like, what's her name, Fawali, and all of those. Listen, Asia Wilson is a once in a 100-year type person where she grew up playing point guard, and now she's the star that she is because she had a full development. I know her parents, and they're really strong and good people, and everybody has to understand Asia Wilson's an anomaly. Fulwale is an anomaly. Everybody's not that. Everybody won't be the number one player, even on their team. Sometimes you have a role to play. And that's one thing I've been really pushing to help parents to understand, that your child may not be the number one player. They may not be the scorer, but they could be recruited because of their academics, because the GPA on the team needs to be high. They could be recruited because they're a good rebounder and that's what they specialize in. They could be a good, a good practice player. My wife and I always look at benches and we always say, okay, those four right there are just practice players, but those individuals are needed to make the entire organization better and function on one accord. What's your thoughts on that?
You said you nailed it. Everybody can't be there. I remember Maya Moore came out, and it's kind of different then because Maya Moore, she played hard on and off the court. She had relationships with, I mean, different teams, not just her team. And I think that's missing in the women's game now. I don't see too many people go over to the other teams like they used to, and because they played each other so much. They're like, man, we're gonna play y'all in the championship. And they were like, it was funny to see them play at the beginning, and they're both making it to the championship. But it was a relationship of seeing them hug each other after the game, and the parents knew each other. I think that's the same thing. You can play defense.
Right.
Sometimes, coach, hey, anybody's playing. I just watched this girl on court 55, and she was D'ing them up. I only saw her score 4 points, but she can play defense. So
It's
it could be
important.
something like that. Know your role, like you said. I think that's so important. If you're a shooter, shoot it. Don't be a driver.
Right.
If you're a shooter,
Right.
shoot it. If you're a point guard, hey, you can pass it, you can shoot it. You're the team captain, really. So know your role, but also play as a team. I think that's so important. I hate this one-on-one stuff.
Yeah.
It turns me off. I
Mhm.
look at it and I go, that's not what it's about. Uh,
Yeah.
I remember recruiting a student athlete, and she was really good, but she just didn't want to play with her teammates, and that was part of my notes. She wouldn't shoot it all the time. She was yelling at teammates. She was down. I mean, it was just a list of things, and I presented to the head coach, and it's many years ago. And I was like, I don't know if she would fit in our system, and we kind of passed on that student athlete.
Mm.
And so
Wow.
we want people that want to be part of a family, part of a team, and you're going to win some games, you're going to lose some.
Mhm.
And that's the one thing I tell them: how did we lose or how did we win it? We evaluate both wins and losses.
Coach, do you require your student athletes to review film and learn a playbook?
Yes, we do. It's very important that we do film. So if we are playing an opponent, we will have film. Each assistant coach has that team, and we'll break them down. And then we'll take that video, we'll present it to the team. But during that week, we're going over the scout. So we're running their plays and our plays. And they've got to know each player of that team, who they're guarding, if the sub comes in, what they can do, if they're a shooter, if they're a post, um, if they're a rebounder. We break it down so and then we'll send them 2 or 3 games that they can watch. And then they will come to us and say, "Hey, coach, did you see so and so do that? They like ball screens. They like to trap off screens. They run the horn set. Yeah, we saw all that. The out of bounds on the side and underneath." So yeah, they watch a lot of tape with us, and we present it to them. And then during game day, we go out there, we do the scout like maybe 2 days before, and then the day before we do a scout, a walkthrough, and then we'll do a little bit of video. And then if it's a home game, we'll come and talk about it. Before pregame, we'll do a walkthrough again, and if they have questions, but we concentrate on a lot of film. Film is so much easier now. I mean, they have the apps right now on their
Right,
phones
right.
that we can sit there and just boom, send them 300, 400 clips of one player, the out of bounds, whatever they have.
That wraps up another episode of Recruiting from the Bleachers. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and I appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to join us next week for another insightful conversation. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube at Recruiting from the Bleachers. Like, share, and follow to keep up with the latest updates. And don't hesitate to leave your comments and questions. We'd love to hear from you. For a deeper dive into the basketball recruiting process, check out our book, Basketball Recruiting, A Parent's Perspective, available now on Amazon.com. Parents, remember, from the bleachers to the big leagues to the boardroom, let's keep cheering and steering our student athletes towards success. We'll see you next time.